Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusa.
Welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another edition of Free Your Mind Lectures. This is one of the series of the Pan-African Pyramid Debates, but this is a Free Your Mind lecture. My name is Andrew Irumba Katusa. We are gathered here at Fairway Hotel to have a cup of coffee over these issues. The first one actually is on Thursday. Houthi forces launched a new missile attack on a US-owned vessel on Thursday after President Joe Biden said American strikes have not deterred the militants' campaign in the Red Sea. The Pentagon said no damage or injuries were reported after Houthis fired two missiles at the MV Chem Ranger. The attack followed the fifth round of these strikes in Yemen earlier on Thursday. The White House said the U.S. took out a range of Houthi missiles that were to be fired towards the Red Sea. In simple context, there is a group of people. You call them what?
The Houthis.
The Houthis.
The Houthis.
The Houthis. They are doing everything possible to ensure that they make it difficult for America's existence in the Middle East.
Correct.
And that group is like, maybe let's compare it to like the Hamas in Israel and Palestine. I remember there was Mau Mau in Kenya. Those days it used to be called Mau Mau Rebellion. Yes. There are those groups that normally come and say, I think we have a cause.
We have a problem to solve.
We have a problem to solve. We shall be talking about that, comrade. And then the other is the 42nd Extraordinary Assembly of IGAD that sat in Kampala. But before we go there, on my immediate left is comrade Ambassador, my senior in Pan-Africanism, Ambassador Tony Jaja. Tony Jaja is South Sudanese. He's right here in Kampala today. But Tony Jaja is my senior because he's an executive council member of the Pan-African Worldwide Movement. There is that worldwide movement of Pan-Africans that actually brings together all of us, those different Pan-African groups worldwide. Now my comrade here sits on that executive council and therefore automatically becomes my senior and my mentor. Glad to meet you, comrade.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Ali Safre is a French freelance journalist in Uganda, in Kampala. And we have nicknamed him Mutatina. Mutatina in our language means somebody who speaks what others fear. Mutatina.
Yes, thank you for having me again.
Yes. Now, let me begin with Mutatina.
Yes.
Mutatina, what do you make of this house of this group trying to make it very difficult for America's existence in the Middle East? First, give us a background of that.
Thank you so much. I think the background starts in Africa. I think it's important we understand that the background, we start this story in Africa. We don't start it from the Yemen side. Many Pan-Africans here, we all here, many Pan-Africans believe and know that in order for Africa to be truly independent, in order for Africa to rise, we need to prevent foreign powers to be able to play their own agenda on the continent and on Earth, right? Pan-Africans have said since Kwame Nkrumah and even before that foreign powers playing their own agenda are the main problem of African development, right? So when we think of this and we know how many military bases foreign military bases are in Africa. You think of the French, you think of the Americans, even Chinese now have military bases in Djibouti. China has one military base in Djibouti. And so when you think of our foreign powers develop their influence in Africa, and when you know that it prevents true independence for African countries, then you start to think of, okay, what is it that we can do? And what we can do is really simple. It's the same agenda that Iran and Houthis have, which is that we need to kick out foreign powers. It's important that we look at them as people that are going to prevent development and not as people that will develop. As Cheikh Anta Diop used to say,
Cheikh Anta Diop. I read his books.
He used to say that you don't ask people to develop you develop yourself, right? So when we look now at Middle East and the Houthis, what we see is a strong country a really proud country, like many African countries here, a proud country that is named Iran. And Iran has one agenda since 20 years now, which is to kick American presence out of Middle East. They are tired of having Americans melting in the Middle East affairs, right? And remember, from 2011 to at least 2015, America was invaded Iraq. America helped Kuwait.
Actually, they did not only invade Iraq; they killed the leader of Iraq.
And they killed the leader of
Saddam
Iraq.
Hussein.
They reinstalled like Kuwait. They would participate to the Kuwait war. They participate to the Iraq-Iran wars by giving weapons to both sides. They invaded Afghanistan out of no UN nations resolution, nothing. Just they decided on their own. So Iran have established that agenda since a long time that Americans' presence in Middle East need to finish. And to do so, and that's where I want really us Pan-African to think and to debate. What did they do to succeed that mission? Because right now they are really successful. American presence is on the withdrawal in Middle East thanks to their capacity. Yes. So what they did is they created a lot of proxy groups, people with interest into ending this American presence. We're thinking of the Hezbollah of Lebanon, we're thinking of the Hamas of Palestine, and we're thinking of the Houthis, right? And when Americans and right now Americans are really present in Middle East through Israel and with that war, right? What they do is they prevent American to pass by Bab el-Mandeb corridor, right? So this is a corridor. Bab el-Mandeb is between Djibouti and Yemen, right? So 19% of international trade pass by this little strip.
And that corridor.
Yes, that corridor. And if you remember when we spoke of Somalia joining East African community, we did say that by getting to Somalia, we also have a really strategic state here because that state is able to close or to open this Bab el-Mandeb holds. We can call it like this. So what Houthis are doing right now that we can learn from is that they say, in order to prevent foreign powers to be successful in their agenda, we are closing international trade road. We attack the boats that bring the weapons to Gaza. We attack the boats that will make foreigners make money and that will make Americans steal the petrol, for instance, right? So we make sure that trade road, we control the trade road.
So, Comrade Lisafre, this Houthi in the Middle East, how old are they? How long have they been doing this? Because I know the presence of America has been actually as for as long as Middle East has existed. When was this group created, and how much?
The presence of America is really after the World Trade Center fall. Before that, they're here with Israel, but they're not as powerful. It's really from 2001 to until recently when they left Afghanistan, when they were kicked out of Afghanistan by Taliban, that we start to see a reflux. But who has financed? What were they doing here? We know they came here for the petrol. We know they came here to destroy the economy of Iraq so their own company could rebuild it. Those are really toxic politics. Those are really toxic politics. So Iran decided, especially around General Soleimani. General Soleimani was in charge of this influence. And you have to ask himself, how do we push the influence of Iran in Middle East so American presence get withdrawn, right? And the strategy they developed was to say, no, we need to use proxy wars. We need to create those small groups of people that have an interest into the liberation of their own country, such as Hezbollah in Lebanon, such as Hamas in Palestine. And we need to coordinate all those actions. We need to finance those guys so when they fight in our name, because when Hamas fight Israel, it's fighting colonialism, the very same colonialism that Americans are developing in the region. So when they fight, they fight for Iran.
Is promoting in Palestine.
And they have an agenda, the larger agenda of making sure that there is no more American presence in Middle East is fulfilled. So that's, I think, how we can start to think also here in the continent and say, okay, how do we collectively find the leverage and the tools to attack imperialist and neocolonialist power in our own land?
Comrade Judge Tony, can you give a context of this how it is unfolding in the Middle East, and putting it also in perspective, is the fact that America has ever been defeated in Afghanistan.
Yep.
They have been defeated and they were actually kicked out.
Yep.
Can the Houthi achieve this in the Middle East? Can they kick out America from the Middle East?
And the Red Sea.
And the Red Sea. The way you see.
Let me just say it this way: America has been defeated. There is no any war they won.
America has been defeated
everywhere, even in Somalia.
Yeah.
Hey, okay.
Even
Afghanistan and Somalia.
In Afghanistan, even they have been defeated. You see, the trick always is just about interest. We are defending our interests. This is all war about. It's about the interest. And what America now has been doing, provoking war with Russia, is to get mean of Iran. How Iran will be involved in these things. The same thing now. The same thing with Israel, supporting Israel and sending the warship and sitting there for 80 days, and they fail. Now they move out from Israel, from the Mediterranean. Now they have moved out.
American.
The warship has now gone back.
They cannot keep their warship in the Red Sea because of their presence of the Houthis.
They are moving out.
Yeah, they have moved out. No, they are not moving. They have even already moved out. Okay, and then this scenario about the Iranian, because the Houthi people they have been supported by the Iranians.
Correct.
Because they have been fighting American behind the Saudi Arabia. Because Saudi Arabia, they were the ones supporting the government of Iran. Because in Iran, the government of Yemen, there's South Yemen, and there is North Yemen.
Yeah, North Yemen.
And this South Yemen, these are the Houthis.
Which also are Americans that divide the country into two.
Dividing countries.
The same
So
way
they
like
start
South Korea and North
fighting
Korea.
one another.
America is the one that divided
the Cold War. They
There's a
always
Cold
organize
War.
things. But
Fighting one another. So whatever now he has said, this is the clear picture about what America is looking for. Because one time they said in Pentagon, they said, we are going to destroy 7 countries in 10 years or in 7 years. And they mentioned them, including Sudan, including even Somalia. And they put the last nation should be Iran. So they are looking the means where to enter
and destroy
Iran, to destroy. But Iran, they become very smart.
And they're very smart people.
They are very smart people.
by using the Houthi.
By using Houthi, by using Hezbollah, by using every area. Okay? That this is the window they are looking for. America is looking for the window how to enter.
Comrade Rugarama. You can sit.
So how to enter? And this is the window they are looking for. Okay, let's just talk about what they did in Libya.
Why does Comrade Lisafri like the sunshine so much? Where are you?
When he didn't get enough oil growing up.
When Hillary Clinton came out, they said we are protecting our interests. What is your interest by killing
Hillary Clinton? America is keeping its interest in another country,
in Libya. Country. So whatever they are doing, building the
military... What about our interests as Libyan?
It is the problem that we have as the leaders in Africa. It is the time now, as we are going through, what is our interest as an African? Our interest. Where is our interest here?
Our interest as...
Where is our interest as African?
As Africans.
Yeah, yes. This is the time we should really cook it very well. To put the interest first. If America always put his interest and protecting his border from far, 1,000 miles away. We don't have a military base in America, even near America.
That's the thing.
But they jump all over to come and put there. The reason why
America has military bases in Africa.
Let me tell you,
but Africa doesn't have any.
After Second World War, America declared for us to control, we have to build 200 military bases. Now they have 500 military bases everywhere, all over the world.
500 military bases.
Yes.
Their target was 200.
200 after Second World War.
They have 500
everywhere.
500 military bases.
Yes.
And the recent
that is for us.
These military bases are supplying seeds for growing.
There is no supply. There is no. It is only about controlling your
They're
economy.
not full of teachers.
If you don't want to play that tune, they will destroy you. This is what is very clear here. Like when they invaded, they come to Syria. Let me say, okay, when they came to Syria, there is ISIS in Syria.
Yep.
Do you know what they did? They support ISIS against the government.
Against the
When they go to
Bashar
Iraq, they fight against ISIS. ISIS ideology is one, whether it's in Iraq or in Syria or in everywhere.
It's the same.
That's where you will see these people have a trick agenda of it. The problem now, the Houthis they have declared war against Israel, against America, and this is what is happening.
Israel
And against
America
Europe.
are one and the same.
Which is UK now. You know, always British, they run after this one. Like Tony Blair came openly and say, Bush lied to me, and nobody has done something to him.
In Iraq,
As
I
a
mean,
sitting
the
prime
Iraqi
minister,
incidents,
confessing that it was a lie war. It was unjust war. Okay? There's
They
no
even killed the head
justification.
of state.
You kill
through
the head of
lies.
state, and now Iraq is not the same. Syria is not the same.
No, I want to bring in comrade.
Even the proof was bring to the Security Council.
And
the
nothing-
French bring the
yeah.
evidence that Americans were lying. Colin Powell, especially the French, bring the evidence that those were lies and that there were no such war that going
Even
to happen in
action
Iraq.
against
Weapons of
them.
mass
Weapons
destruction.
of
Even
mass destruction
action
exist.
against
We
them.
have proof and clear evidence.
There is
they
nothing.
deny the evidence because they follow their own agenda. And maybe that's what we should learn from them. Be unapologetic about following your own agenda. We should, as the continent, follow our own agenda for our people.
We
And
should
be
not be
unapologetic
apologetic
about-
for our agenda.
If we have to put like military base in south of Europe and Middle East, so we control the invasions that they usually come here, then let's do
But
it.
will they allow you?
I will tell you this, comrade Irumba, our moderator. Thank you so much, our speaker, and regards to my comrade Zaifon here. Salutations to the audience.
This is comrade Ambassador Tony Jaja.
Oh,
He sits on the council of the Pan-African Worldwide Movement.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Glad we have met somehow, and I will be reminding him where. Talking about the double standards of America, we have talked about this for a very long time now, and we shall not get tired of talking about it because it is like what has kept, for instance, religious institutions, be it Islam, be it Christianity, moving, is because of constantly referring to their holy books and gathering people and telling them that Allah or God said this, and it is written here. The moment you get tired of saying it, that is the end of your religious institution or the religious incarnation. Because people must constantly be reminded. Just like the Jews have never got tired of telling the world about the Holocaust, the Africans and the rest of the world are not going to get tired of telling the world about what afflicts them.
Correct.
Now, the Houthi were, and I think they are
Actually, you
still,
found us talking about them. That
yes,
was.
they are still a minority group in Yemen. Of all the tribes that form up the population in Yemen. And for a very long time they have been marginalized. We are talking about marginalization. But they kept up the fire.
They didn't
And,
give up,
no, they
despite
never
the
gave
fact
up.
that they are the minority.
And because of that, they put up a fight, and close now to 10 years, it is coming to 10 years, they overran Yemen. All the major cities are under the direct control of the Houthi. Of course, the argument that they are being backed by Iran is, in my opinion, unnecessary, and it does not make any intellectual debate. Why? Because even America has got Israel as a minority in the Middle East, who were pushed there mainly by the Americans and the British in 1949.
1949.
By the so-called the UN resolution. We know of so many other useless resolutions, including that one which created South Korea and North Korea. So we are not disturbed, and we cannot be fooled into believing that there was such a resolution creating the Israel state of Israel, and from what? Because you see, we must first appreciate, was it that there was such an empty land that the apartheid regime purported that there was nothing apart from birds? There was a radio. If you remember it, is it a radio? There was some radio something. It would start with birds singing. And
that
it
is
was that was a radio mainly run by the apartheid regime. That's where they would air out their views. The significance of that was that they would want the world to believe that actually in the world where they were, when they were coming there were nothing but birds, animals of all nature, and they occupied empty land. That defeats the African traditional way of land holding. It is not the piece of paper called the title. Now, back to the Houthi. When they put up a fight, now coming about 8 years, coming to 10 years now, and they overran the major cities, they established themselves. You remember, for them, they are not Sunni. And that is why, because there is a Sunni and Shia. That is why you find that the majority of Saudi Arabia being supported by America. We are fighting them. At one time, they were almost being given a bloody nose because the amount of missiles that were flying into Yemen was unbelievable. You cannot now contain the theater of war in just the Gaza Strip. The theater of war, in as far as the Israel onslaught on the Palestinians in Gaza, has now extended. And if the extension is that the Houthis now this time say we are only targeting the ships, because that's maritime business. The Red Sea is not only utilized by the Americans but other forces also, because the Singaporeans are there, the Germans are there, the every major power that really engages in international trade uses the Red Sea. Averagely, between 12 to 15 of the maritime business on the seas goes through the Red Sea. This time around, when you have got to defend the ships on the Red Sea, using the amount of military force that they have now, the Americans and her friends are employing, you are making the cost of business go high. Certainly, the commodities, be them the consumables, food supplies, and military hardware and other related ones, fuels, you now, I'm told, as we talk, that the prices of fuel has gone up. We may not have yet experienced it on the pump, but it is certainly coming. Because the cost of doing business is certainly going to go high. Now, when you have the ships being supported and protected by the amount of protection, of military protection that America has now galvanized, because it has called on her cousins, about 9 of them, to form the Council of the 10 to protect the ships in the Red Sea. It means that the amount of shipment, the cost of shipment certainly goes high. And the commodities involved will certainly be, they will put the cost of protection into the final cost of the product.
So Europeans will buy whatever they're buying from Asia way higher price. And something maybe just to add to that, the Red Sea is an African sea. And it's also, it's an African sea.
It's African.
We're not speaking of a Middle East sea. It's a sea that is in Africa. So why is it that we can't do that ourselves? Why can't we have Djibouti attacking the boats that pass that canal so we negotiate?
The Djibouti itself you are talking about, all the major players, world global players are in Djibouti. Tell me any country, even the United Arab Emirates also has got a military base. So a military base, like you are asking His Excellency the ambassador here, and he was telling you that, look, the military base is not for supplying seeds like you wanted to. Joking,
No
they
seed,
say
no teachers.
it's not for teachers and what have you, but for protecting the interests of
interests.
that particular country. Djibouti has got a strip. That connecting strip to the ocean is the most profitable one that every international player, every country with the commodities to put on the global market must find herself in Djibouti. And that is how Djibouti becomes very important. I want to believe, by the way, that African Union, it is high time now African Union came up and also established her presence more emphatically in Djibouti. So the issue of the Houthi now is to make sure that the balance of power in the Middle East is indeed balanced. It is only the time Iran declares and the world gets to know that we have got the military capability, just like Cuba, for instance, will declare one time that we have got the missile, the atomic bomb, is the time they will get the respect which they desire. Short of that, it is going to be a tall order for Middle East to stabilize if the only nuclear-powered country is Israel.
We're discussing a number of issues that actually are germane to African agenda. The communique of the 42nd Extraordinary Assembly of IGAD Heads of State and Government that was held in Entebbe, Kampala. The 42nd Extraordinary Assembly of IGAD Heads of State and Government was held on Thursday, 18th January 2024, in Entebbe, Republic of Uganda, on the situation in the Republic of Sudan and the recent developments regarding the relations between the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia and the Federal Democratic Republic of Somalia. The assembly was actually chaired by His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, President of the Republic of Djibouti, and the chairperson of the IGAD Heads of State and Government, and was attended by His Excellency Dr. William Ruto of Kenya, His Excellency Dr. Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, President of the Federal Republic of Somalia, His Excellency Salva Kiir Mayardit, President of the Republic of South Sudan, that is the newest country in the world, and then President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda. In attendance was also His Excellency Dr. Wakine Gebeyu, the Executive Secretary of IGAD, His Excellency Musa Faki Mahamat, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, His Excellency Ramten Lumamra, Personal Envoy of the UN Secretary General. You hear there is a UN Secretary General for Sudan. Yeah? This is IGAD, an African affair. Now there is a UN envoy.
UN is also us. Without us, there is no UN.
His Excellency Engineer Walid Al-Kraj, Deputy Minister of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. His Excellency Khalifa Shaheen Al-Marat, Minister of State for Foreign Affairs of United Arab Emirates. His Excellency Annette Weber, European Union Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa. His Excellency Ambassador Michael Hammer, the U.S. Special Envoy of the Horn of Africa. His Excellency Hossan Zaki, Assistant Secretary General of League of Arab States. His Excellency Abdiwale, IGAD Deputy Executive Secretary. Ambassador Ismail Waisi, IGAD Envoy, Special Envoy for South Sudan, and IGAD representative for the Sudan peace process. Ambassador Mahmoud Ali Guyo, IGAD Special Envoy for the Red Sea, Gulf of Eden, and Somalia, among others. Now, that's what formed the meeting yesterday. I'm talking about Thursday, yesterday. And arising from statements and subsequent deliberation on the situation in the Republic of Sudan and recent developments in the relation between the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia and Federal Republic of Somalia. Now, they were deeply concerned by the recent developments regarding the relation between the Federal Republic of Ethiopia and Federal Republic of Somalia. And they reaffirmed the cardinal principles of respect for sovereignty, unity, and territorial integrity of the Federal Republic of Somalia and any engagement should uphold the above cardinal principles, and any agreement of arrangement should be with the consent of the federal government of Somalia. They also called upon the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia and Federal Democratic Republic of Somalia to de-escalate tensions and instead engage in constructive dialogue. They emphasized that the Republic of Sudan does not belong to the parties to the conflict only, but the Sudanese people, and reiterated their call for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire, as well as cessation of hostilities to end this unjust war. They also underscored the primary responsibility of IGAD member states to ensure the will of the people of Sudan. They recalled the commitment of the parties to the conflict for the face-to-face meeting within 14 days and called upon the parties to meet within 2 weeks. They stressed that IGAD member states will utilize all means and capabilities to ensure the conflict in Sudan is resolved peacefully, and directed IGAD Secretariat to provide an update to the Assembly. They directed the IGAD Secretariat in coordination with the AUC to revise the roadmap for the resolution of the conflict in the Republic of Sudan. Those are some of the key points that came out from the communique that was released yesterday by the people I have just mentioned above. I want to begin with probably I should begin with the Comrade Rugarama to give us a background of this IGAD and so far their foot on ground in regards to solving the East African region problems. Let's begin with the East African regional problem. There is now this Sudan, there is South Sudan, there is Congo. Now there is a very big disagreement between Rwanda and Burundi. Let's begin from there.
What is of critical and historical importance about IGAD is that it never started to solve political questions. That one the ambassador will tell you. The concern of IGAD and the journalist in Rusafri, Tatina, knows for a fact that IGAD never commenced and was not forged for purposes of solving political questions.
Yes,
instead, IGAD mainly had a lot to do with disasters in form of natural disasters.
Natural disasters.
That is to do with drought, floods, how to combat famine of the sort. But later, as it dawned on the member states, and of course it has been expanding, that majority of these problems, be it drought, be it famine, be it issues of floods, have got a lot to do with unpreparedness of the African man, and in majority of the cases, the political terrain. That when you are not prepared politically, or when you are there is a lot of you are exposed to political vagaries, you will certainly not survive natural calamities. What they call natural calamities, because a country like, for instance, the Dutch, is basically below sea level. They are on water, but because of the political correctness, they are politically correct. They are conscious. They know where they are staying. They have put up their mind to make sure that the water does not affect them. How many times have you, for instance, gone to Amsterdam International Airport and you find it flooded?
Never.
And yet, for us who are so much above sea level, we get flooded left and right. So it's a question the IGAD discovered, therefore, that beyond the floods, the famine, the locusts, all sorts of things, there is the political question to be solved. And indeed, the political question also started manifesting itself in the member states. Because everywhere you go, Somalia, Uganda here, Kenya. Not only do you find the issue of the food, and I have always argued, and I will argue even here, that the problem of food, for instance, on the African continent, is not that we are incapable and we do not have the food. No, but the means to detect who is hungry, who is about to be hungry, the ability to keep the food now, such that it is going to be used tomorrow, and finally the ability to distribute the food where it is most needed are our challenges. But that we don't have food is impossible. Therefore, IGAD, among other forces that would want to solve political questions, which ultimately would go a long way in solving economic and social questions, is a welcome force. To what extent, though, that is my biggest question, does the IGAD understand what triggered the conflict in Sudan?
You think they don't understand the nitty-gritties of the problem of that?
Apart from, and this is with due respect to the technocrats there, and I want to tell you that there are so many episodes that have unfolded on the African continent. Political questions, economic and political, social and otherwise, which we think we actually appreciate. We assume we understand, when in actual sense, we miss the question, and in majority of the cases, deliberately, we miss it. We miss the question, and then we arrive at a wrong answer, and then we keep there. Somebody even sponsors our keeping there with the wrong answer.
In that wrong answer.
Yes, we keep there for a very
Somebody
long time.
pays you to stay there.
I'm telling you. Here, Safri told you last time that the question in Sudan, for instance, is that we may be talking about the balance of power, we may be talking about who, because we know of some ambassadors who called the president of Sudan. An ambassador called the president of Sudan and said a certain foreign country has sent their envoy to discuss with you about a certain military base. Don't accept that offer. And the reply from the president then, I say then because now we seem to be having two presidents, you will forgive my language, was that, no, but I'm the president of this country and I have got the best interests of my people. I will see to it that the best interests of my people do outshine other interests. Shortly thereafter, a military base was actually set up out of the conversation between that envoy and the president, to the dislike and dismay of the phone call that the person who was phoning the president. From that time, Dangore emerged. So now if you are telling me that phone call content has been sorted out, then I will agree with you that IGAD is capable of solving the problem that was created as a consequence of disobeying the telephone call conversation.
The telephone call conversation.
I rest my case.
Ambassador Tony, the IGAD question, in as far as solving the regional problems is concerned, do we have, or are we looking at another African Union sleeping giant there? Because most people have said, hey, you African Union, what do they do? Are we looking at IGAD? And so the communique of yesterday in Kampala, we should simply say, okay, it happened, and let's go back home and sleep. Do we see any action? For instance, can these people, Sudanese, can they respect this communique? US or Sudanese? Are your people going to respect this?
Let me say something. I was in Sudan since 2019, and I have engaged on those since Bashir was moved. I have engaged myself with many leaders, including the two leaders who are now fighting. And,
have you always respected these documents in those conflicts?
The only person who have respected this document is the person who came yesterday, who has honored the invitation of the IGAD head of state to come and sit in Uganda, Kampala. And President Burhan, by court, he refused to come to Uganda to attend the IGAD summit, and it was done mainly for the two countries, which is for the three countries, especially for Sudan conflict and for the dispute between Somaliland and then Ethiopia and then the Federal Republic of Somalia. That is the reason why. Even Ethiopian Prime Minister has not sent even delegation. They have even by court. Yeah, he has not. No representative from Ethiopia. Yes, it's only the president of Somalia, Ahmad Sheikh.
So they are speaking to themselves.
Yeah, he's the one who came in the last minute. They did not even attend the program. So this one, because IGAD has played many roles before. Even the peace between Riek Machar and Salva Kiir was done by IGAD leaders, and the most influence was coming from Uganda. You see, when the war broke out in Sudan, immediately there was a meeting here in Entebbe. And this is where they formed a committee. The committee was comprised of four leaders, which is the president of Djibouti, Omar Sheikh, Ismail Sheikh, and then Muhammad Sheikh, Omar of Djibouti was the chair. And then you have Ruto, Dr. William Ruto, the president of Republic of Kenya, and Salva Kiir, and you have Abiy Ahmed, the prime minister of Ethiopia. There were four of them in that committee to go and sit with these two people when the war was still going on and fresh, so that they can bring down this conflict and bring constitution. But this thing has not given a chance for the leaders even to fly, because the war was even in the capital, and the destructive of the airport make them not even to enter, because it is everywhere.
No fly zone.
Yes. Now the leader of the second command, which is General Doglo, has visited Ethiopia, and he was well received with the honor. He came to Kenya, well received. He met President Museveni in the country home, in the village, and then he went to Rwanda. He met Kagame. He went to South Africa. He met Ramaphosa, and he was explaining, because if you want to solve the problem, you cannot. I cannot hear from you alone. Huh?
Yes.
Him, Burhan himself, as the president of the Sovereignty Council of Sudan and the commander-in-chief of the army, he has traveled. He has visited all these places. He has explained exactly what was happening. So, okay, the person we are fighting with should even explain to the leaders. Yesterday, he has a good chance. General Doglo yesterday he met them. He met the leaders of IGAD, including the chairman of the African Union in the meeting, and he has explained everything. He has said this is what exactly what he said to all these leaders he met before. So he is the one who have given hands for peace, and the other one now is mobilizing. He's mobilizing army, a popular army from the young people in the villages to fight. He said he is not going to accept peace. Burhan himself, he said he is going to fight until he finished. There is no war can bring peace. It's only about destruction. Sudan now is totally destroyed. And even the Minister of Defense of Egypt has confirmed and confessed in one of the media that General Doglo is the one in charge and is the one controlling 80% of the whole area.
So Egyptians have dropped out.
Dropped, yes. And they are confirmed. They said.
So it means Doglo is the de facto president now.
Yes.
If you are controlling 80%,
because he's the one. He's the one now. He's the one controlling the whole areas. Okay. And Burhan himself, if he wants to peace accept, he should come to meet the leaders. This face-to-face meeting has been organized many times. He refused to come. Now they accused. They were giving rumors around this. Doglo has died since day one. He has died since May, 17 May. But Doglo now is alive, and after he came out meeting these leaders, it's become a problem now. Now he's against every leader who have received him. So how can you solve the problem?
Everyone who receives him,
and the person
automatically an enemy.
And the person behind Burhan, these are the Islamist group. The group of Bashir, the group of Ali Kurti, These are the people now who are pushing him to that one. And he is a clear message. Everybody knows about it. So now it's bring peace. That is why African Union has formed.
So Burhan is a blue-eyed boy for Bashir.
Yes.
But
Where is
even after
Bashir,
peace,
by the way?
Huh?
They were both
Where
of
is
them.
Bashir?
No, they were both of them.
peace,
They were both of them from Bashir. But
okay.
now, the people who create war, they are this Islamic group.
So
I
where-
was in Khartoum. I'm talking about something I know.
You know him.
I'm not talking about the
So, but
rumors or
what
somebody.
are
I
the
was
Comrade,
differences?
where is Bashir? Where is Comrade Ambassador? Where is Bashir now?
they have escaped from the prison and he's somewhere. We don't
Bashir
know where he's
escaped?
hiding. All of them, they came and
The other time
they
when
broke the prison and they're
yes.
outside.
But
All the
Ambassador-
leaders who have been arrested, they are outside.
Including
Ambassador,
Bashir.
Yeah, all of them.
can I
So
ask
he's,
you,
so he's no longer in Sudan.
even if
Yeah,
we,
he's not there.
if we bring the peace, we know that Sudanese were calling for a civilian government for a long time. We know there were protests in the street of Sudan for a civilian government to be established, not for militaries to be in power. So even when we have resolved that problem of Al Burhan, even if it's resolved and there is peace,
And do you-
what are the chances for elections and civilians being elected?
Do you know the same militaries, the Sovereignty Council, they are the one who overthrow the civilian government.
Correct.
And
Mr.
push Hamadok out. Now in the communique, all the leaders who said yesterday, they said this, they have to form the civilian government. They have to give the government to the civilian. Okay, how these things should be conducted? It is when the two leaders, the two army leaders, because they said Sudan is not subject to them, is not subject to them,
Yeah.
is not controlled by them, they are not owning it. So the two parties who are fighting now, they should sit down and solve it. So that is why now the high-level committee that was formed by the African Union will collaborate with the IGAD Secretariat sort of for them to solve this issue. The problem now, Burhan don't want IGAD to solve the problem. They have even boycott even. They say now we are pulling out from IGAD membership. This is what they said. This is the statement they made. That is not going to solve the problem.
My question.
That is not going to solve the problem.
As we wind up.
But now
to
the Saudi Arabia and America, they are the one now playing. Everybody say we are going to Jeddah. Why are you going to Jeddah? What is the interest of Saudi Arabia and what interest of America of solving this problem? And they are the one behind the cause of the problem.
Ambassador, before
People has to talk the
finish
truth.
your submission,
Yeah.
how old is Dangore and his military group? How old?
It was
Was
From-
he existing when the
no.
Burhans and Bashirs
During
were
Bashir
there?
time, it was officially by constitution of the army. Is a part of the army since 2010.
Was he having that militia?
It was not.
Parallel.
It was
No.
Yes,
It was
it was
part
after
of
the
the army.
collapse.
Part of the army 2010 by the parliament themselves.
So how old is now his
Militia.
paramilitary group?
It's not a paramilitary group.
He's a part of the military.
It's the military that
He's
makes
okay.
decisions.
Oh, yeah.
Mutiny is better than
They have mutined.
Yes.
Mutiny, let's say.
But now they
that's
call them
control the
militias
country.
because they are fighting. They call them rebel because they're fighting. How a rebel is able to control the capital?
And the borders.
This is not-
And all the borders.
He's
of
the
the
one
country.
sitting now. He's the one. He's the one even
And he's the one
opening.
now meeting people outside.
Yes,
Yeah.
meeting people
But
outside.
Ambassador, will the military be able to defend civilians and civilian government after they reach power? If you fight for 2 years to reach power, what are the chances that you're gonna stay in power and push for your own agenda, the agenda of soldiers, not the agenda of people?
Let me say that always
Final.
when there is war, and I agree with His Excellency President Museveni yesterday when he said this war is unjust war. Okay, the reason why it's unjust war because somebody created this war. Because
You see?
they were together.
Yes.
They were military. They were in Sovereignty Council. One was the president, one is the deputy. And now they are the one fighting. It's like when Riek Machar was the vice president and Kiir was the
Salva
president,
Kiir.
and now they start fighting. It's the same scenario of Sudan that is
Sudan.
happening now. We're in this one. But now it is like everybody who has been marginalized in the western side. Now they have joined the military of Dogolo. Now they are backing
They're
Dogolo.
back in the war.
And now they are even going to northern side to fight in the north. Because the war used to be in south and Darfur and southern Kordofan and then the Blue Nile. But war has never entered into the central. or into the northern part. But now these things have gone there.
Okay.
He's now there. So he have to be tackled from now. And because as a military, you cannot threaten me that you will fight me. Then I will not keep quiet. You will force yourself to bring it by any means. This guy now is controlling, is winning war from time to time. 80% of Sudan now is under his.
Thank you very much, Comrade Ambassador
So,
Tony Jaja, South Sudanese diplomat and executive council member of the Pan-African Worldwide Movement. Thank you for coming. Comrade Daniel Garama is a lawyer by profession and is also chairman of the Pan-African Movement Uganda chapter. Comrade Mutatina Lissafri Thomas from France, a freelance journalist in Kampala, Uganda. My name is Andrew Irumba Katusabe, your speaker, and we say Africa don't agonize, but organize. Africa don't agonize,
Organize.
One Africa,
One people.
One Africa,
One
people.
people.
Thank you so much. My name is Irumba.
Continue.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusa.